There we go. All right. Well, officially welcome to Coffee with DC, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Monday morning. Hope everybody is starting their week off nicely and excited to hear about our really unique Havana Jazz Festival trip. So before we hop into it a little bit, I just love to, tell you a little bit more about Discover Core. I see some familiar names joining us today, some alumni as well, but I also see some new names. So welcome if this is your first one. We're Discover Core, and we've been offering these what we like to call unforgettable vacations with purpose for over a decade. And we currently actually operate in over 20 different countries at the moment. So we have a really large portfolio, and we love this opportunity, once a month to dive a little bit deeper and give some deeper insights and offer an opportunity for people who come from different backgrounds to share, their experiences and perspectives on our trip. Cuba is a really unique destination that we're able to operate in. And a lot of people, I'm on the sales line, I work in the sales team. And so a lot of people ask me, like, how is it that you guys, work in Cuba? And so we really are able to operate under what's called support for the Cuban people. And we've been running these trips for almost a decade, offering these unique experiences. And we're very proud to be able to support Cuba, the people, and their economy. And I tell my travelers all the time, the best way to support Cuba is by actually going there and experiencing it. And we're so proud that we're able to offer this. Cuba, fun fact, is actually the first destination I ever traveled to. My first day on the job with Discover Corps was in Cuba, so it holds a really special place in my heart. I know Claudia was able to go there earlier this year as well, which is great. So we're really excited. And we just, before, today's really to dive deep into Jazz Fest. It's around the corner. We'll speak to the dates in a second, but I just wanted to give perspective of all the different trips to Cuba that we really do offer. We have over 6 different trips, and we have created this portfolio that's very broad and tackles all different interests, right? If you're more of a nature lover, an arts lover, community development lover, or, you're wanting a little bit more of that family island experience, or a shortened version of a Havana weekend getaway that you can run just, over a few days. But we also have this unique festival experience, this VIP kind of trip that we're looking forward to diving deeper. So to introduce, everyone on the call, first I'll start with, people from Discover Corps, myself included. I'm Lynn. I'm a travel specialist at Discover Corps. As mentioned, I work more on the sales side, so I'm familiar with all of our itineraries, all of the countries that we operate in. I am Canadian, if you hear my accent sometimes come out, but I actually have been living 6 years in Costa Rica. So I've been around the world in all different destinations, including a lot that Discover Corps operates in Kenya and some other beautiful places like Peru. And just, yeah, if you have any questions after this call about other destinations as well, know that I'm your girl and you can call me anytime and ask me any questions about our offerings. So pleasure to be here and be your host today. And now I'll pass it over to Claudia for an introduction.
Hi everyone, good morning or good afternoon, depending where you're at. I'm Claudia. I'm the Cuba pre-departure specialist. So I'm here to, just guide you before you go to Cuba. As Lee mentioned, I was lucky enough to visit Cuba this March. Cannot wait to go back. It was definitely a very special moment. So it will be great for me to also, share with you my own experience before you go and just get ready for for you to go on your trip. So yeah, thank you, Lynn. Very excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Claudia. And Dyron, can you briefly introduce yourself as well and tell everyone what you do at Discover Club? Oh, you're muted, Dyron. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you twice. Thank you, Claudia. I'm very happy to be here, guys. My name is Dairon. I'm Cuban. I've lived like pretty much my whole life there. And I'm very happy and very lucky to have done it, to have lived there. And now to help other people get to know the country, get to know the culture, the people. It's very rewarding and gratifying work for me to do. So pretty much that's what I do. I help connect people from the United States to get their different view and approach about Cuban things and about the Cuban people, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, and Byron is the itinerary builder. I mean, we come to him with all different requests, interests. We run a lot of private trips to Cuba as well that, have customizations, and Byron is the king of itinerary building. So we're very grateful to have that, person who's locally from there that is able to make those connections for us to be able to operate all different experiences. So thank you,
And
Byron.
it feels great, Lynn, because on the other side, the one that normally people don't see, on the receiving side, like on the Cuban side, people are extremely grateful and very happy to receive all the travelers and share the experience and their life, their happiness, their bad things as well, everything. So yeah, it's very rewarding for me. Good job. Thank you.
No, I know. I think a lot about that trip that we did right after the pandemic and just, seeing everybody's faces and seeing all your connections kind of come together to receive us again after it had been a while. It was so rewarding. So yeah, no, just thank you for the work that you do and all that you add to Discover Core. I also want to introduce a really special guest. As mentioned, we love when we have the opportunity to bring alumni. Beth, I know your trip was back in 2020 as well, actually before the pandemic, I guess. So I can only imagine we're gonna have to like dig through the archives of your mind a little bit and hear about how your trip was. But would love for you to introduce yourself, where you're from, and maybe a little bit of a highlight of your trip with us back in 2020.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Beth Rosenberg. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. Um, we had a great trip. My husband and I had a great trip to Cuba. We went because we knew several of our friends had gone to Cuba on special trips there and just had a fascinating time. We love jazz, so the fact that Discover Corps was putting on this jazz festival in Cuba was certainly a great match for us. I had retired like 5 days before we went on this trip, so it was like a first retirement, adventure out of the United States, and it was great. I don't know whether it's the first time that Discovery Corps
Yeah,
did
you were on
the
the
jazz
first
festival.
official trip.
Yeah, and I think it was particularly special for us because Andrew, who was the director of Discovery Corps at the
Founder.
time, went with
Our
us.
founder.
Yes, your
Yes,
founder.
yes.
He went with us and he had some of his friends come with us and things like that.
Board members.
Yeah,
Our board members.
and so it was great. So they all knew each other. We didn't necessarily know them, but it was a very congenial group and everybody got along and it was fun. And some of them, could obviously speak Spanish and knew a lot about Latin jazz, which was very helpful because they could direct us to different jazz venues because there were multiple things sometimes going on at night,
Right.
not always just one venue. So we had a great experience. Not only was the jazz, the food was good. We went to very many. We went to a bunch of different local sites that were really very sort of artistic related or socially conscious places that were helping kids in Cuba as well. So, and I think in your itinerary we went to the tobacco farm, which was really fun. And we all saw how, tobacco was grown and how they dry it so they can make cigars, and everybody got a cigar and everybody got honey and whatever else. So that was fun. And then we went to another place more local in Havana that everybody was learning how to play the drums, the hand drums and things like that. So that was fun. We learned how to dance some local dances.
Fun.
And then we had the historical tour of Havana. So overall, it was a great trip. I would certainly recommend it to anybody who wanted to experience Cuba and see some of the culture as well. And it was just special. So I don't know what else.
No, that's perfect, Beth. No, it gives a really great perspective of, our trips are really well-rounded and you hit on that level, which I like to always kind of allude when I'm on the phone with people, like, yes, this is a Jazz Fest trip, but we don't just do jazz either. We really try to plant these other parts of, the Cuban culture to give you this well-rounded experience of really what Cuba is, because there's so many levels, like you said, the food, also the music, the percussion, the dance, the tobacco farms, the farming, everything. So thank you for speaking to that, because I think that's you hit it. What we're trying to kind of talk about today is just really what does our trip include. So yes, looking forward to kind of diving deeper into it with you all. So to give everyone a little bit more perspective, I thought it might be helpful to kind of direct this question to Dyron. Can you tell us, Dyron, what a typical day on this trip looks like as we currently, are working with this itinerary?
Yeah, but it's one of my favorite trips as well, man. Because this is so much. Thing is that music, it's intrinsical for the Cubans. We got music everywhere since you're born. It's music everywhere, like different genres of music. In Cuba, we have like, I think it's 24, 26 rhythms that originated in Cuba based on our history. Like we have influence from the English, for example, the Spaniards, the Asian, the Chinese specifically, of course, the Africans, and all of that, the French. We got all of these people migrating to Cuba at some point. So there was such a combination, Americans, such a combination of music. We have so many different types, some genres and everything. So Cuba, it's music in itself. In this type of itinerary, that's what we have. We have jazz, we have the percussion class, like the drums, that is very much connected with the religion at the same time. So this itinerary is mostly, it's a lot of fun. You get to enjoy and get to know a lot of people. You get to enjoy the life of the Cubans, the music. You go around, you see, sorry, you have a little bit of culture. You go to the city tour. You go to you learn a bit about the history, about the architecture, the mix of the architecture as well. And every night you go to a jazz venue. But at the same time, the thing about that is that you also get to talk to the musicians. It's not just a distant getting to know them. Like you get to know them like firsthand, and that has an added value. Another very distinctive thing about Cuba, famous, is of course the cigars. And you don't have to smoke, but when you go there and you talk to the farmer, and you know that the farmer has to go, they need to plant over 20,000 or 30,000 plants every year. Like the seeds are the smallest that you can see. And when they tell you this, and that they have to visit their farms every day to weed them, to take care of them, they have to control the water. It's such a hard working process that you become identified with it. And you learn to appreciate what they do at different levels. So I love this trip because in addition to your dancing and you're learning about music and enjoying, you get to experience a different humanity at a different level, how people are, how they behave. So it
Yeah.
is, it is pretty much, yes.
No, it's a beautiful, beautiful trip. And just so everyone knows, we do have the dates confirmed now for next year, the 26th to 31st. So something unique about running festival trips is we sometimes have to wait to hear from, the committees or anyone who's organizing, like what the official dates are. So we have those dates. The trip is guaranteed to run. We have people in there already, which is awesome. But yeah, a typical day, I mean, it's my understanding, Dyron, and correct me if I'm wrong. Yes. Oh, do I have the dates wrong?
Yeah, no, there's a right,
Okay.
there's a right, I'm sorry. I
Like,
just
oh no.
wanted to add, no, but I wanted to add that in addition, our travelers, sometimes they get a special treatment. They get
Right.
either a private concert, so they get things that they don't have to do along with everybody else. They have a special treatment. Like in one of the itineraries, for example, we visited the house of a guy that makes some of the instruments for the jazz festival. So we always try to incorporate elements that, for example, because you may ask, then why don't I go on my own to the jazz festival? Well, the thing is that we add a lot of elements that makes our jazz festival itinerary unique and
Right.
has a more personalized experience. Like we
Yeah,
add concerts, we add trips, we add a lot of things that makes it more valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say that I know that that's from your connection so deeply to the jazz community. I mean, experiencing you in Cuba, it's like everyone knows Dyron, and we're at like any restaurant and you know the musicians and everything. And so I think that's where that comes from for everyone on the call, is really just having this intimate relationship with so many of these musicians and supporting them for such a long time. And in our typical trips, sometimes, we still have, especially in the celebration of arts and culture trip, that one's also very music forward. So we have this year-long kind of relationship with a lot of musicians. This is kind of like a little bit more intense. And so um, again, just a typical day. I mean, Dyron, can you speak to how it does go into the night? That's a little bit unique to this experience compared to our other, you can imagine it's dinner and then
Okay.
night's kind of wrapped up and you can do your own thing, but this trip is a little bit different, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. We do every day. We check the venues that are presented, and we choose their best choices. So we bring our travelers to what they want to see. They can all go together. They could go to different venues. Dinner is always at a private restaurant. Our lunches, all the meals are at private places, because the thing is that we want. So the things that we want to help the local community. That's why everybody loves us, right? Because the thing that we want to help the local community, we take care of them, we treat them well and respectfully. So we eat at private restaurants all the time. We hire the jazz bands, we hire musicians, we hire people to work and perform for us. So at nighttime, exactly that's what we do. Most of the times we go to the public venues, but sometimes we even create our own venue, and we have like one of the images, I think the previous one, Lynn, we have a
Oh,
uh, very prestigious musician performing for our travelers. Uh,
oh, I think it was this one. You mean, I think I know what you're referring to. This one.
that one, yes,
Yeah.
perfectly, yes. That one, we hired a restaurant. We hired the whole restaurant, and then we hired these musicians. So the guy at the keyboard just won an award, a prize internationally. He was in Colombia right now. And that's what we do. Yeah, every day we talk to people and all day long. Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. And can you describe a little bit more to give people an idea of the locations of the main performance? Both of you kind of alluded to it. There's a lot going on during Jazz Fest, and it's not just like all in one venue. So can you speak to that?
Guys, the things at the jazz festival, there are people coming from all over the world, and there are like 3 or 4 main venues, big ones. Sometimes like big theaters, sometimes a small cafe. It depends, and they have a schedule, of course, of where these artists are going to perform. So either, I mean, you can choose, so you don't see the same one unless you want to, fine. But we have the program like ahead of time, and we get to decide. So we guarantee that every one of our travelers get to the place in time. We have in our tours we have a special credential, that with that special credential, we can go to any of those venues and have a special seating arrangement. So we don't have to go there and fight our seats. We have our seats very well reserved at a good place, a good view. Yeah, that too.
Awesome. And when do you expect to find out the lineup for jazz performance? Has that been released yet, or for this coming year? Do we have any news?
Yeah, no, that not yet, because that depends on how many people are
Okay.
writing. Hold on.
Yeah.
Uh, Let me see, because a friend sent it over to me. No, there is still being worked on. They are still working on the programs, but I will get it like very soon. As soon as I have it, I'll get it to you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, and Claudia, because she works directly with the travelers, if you are interested or anything like that, both Claudia and I can make sure to get
The
that to you.
way
So
all the musicians, everybody's very famous, very popular. But in addition, we have a lot of Cuban young upcoming musicians that are extremely talented as well. So those are some of the most valuable. Like at some point, we had Americans people going there. Wynton Marsalis went once to one of these festivals a couple of years ago. Yeah.
awesome. No, it's very exciting. I'm always excited to see what names are on there, and every year it's very cool to see what it attracts, and like you said, people from all over the world, which is very awesome. So thank you, Dyron. I want to hop over to Beth and just, I mean, you spoke to it. You were retiring, right? And like celebrating, had always had interest in going to Cuba, but was there anything else on, why you decided to take this trip or any other kind of reasons?
I think sorry if I jumped ahead of my
No, it's fine. Don't
schedule's
worry.
talking points. No, I think it was just a retirement. We wanted to go somewhere.
Yep,
Cuba was a special place to go because a lot of trips, were canceled right before we went.
sure.
It just so happened timing wise, it happened right before COVID hit everybody, and everybody was stuck in their house for 2 years. So
Yeah.
it really
Had a
made it
lot to think about after that. I'm sure you
right.
just living through those moments, you're like, thank goodness I got to go when I did.
Right, exactly. And I don't normally smoke, but that was me smoking at one of the cigars at I think it was at the tobacco farm. So that was fun. Yeah, and it was great. And I think the venues, I whatever the concert agenda is, I think it's still very worthwhile to go and experience what's there. It was great. There was, as Danya said, there were small venues, and then there was a very large venue, huge, I don't, thousands of people. And we actually got seats in almost the front row. So it was great to be up front and see what was going on. And just everybody was very, excited, and it was I felt safe there. And it was just overall just great. So I would highly recommend that. Oh, I think that's our trip, right? You have that picture
Yes,
of it.
yeah, you sent me some photos and then I went through the archives of our photos that we had and found
Oh,
some good
yeah,
ones of the big crew
right.
that it looked very, very fun. I enjoyed going through the photos. I stole this one too. Somebody took this photo during the trip as well.
Yeah.
Um,
And I should say that we went on the extension as well.
oh,
And that was fun. It was different. It was certainly a smaller town, but you learned about the culture there and what was going on. So that
You
was
went to
worthwhile.
Trinidad. You went to Trinidad and
yeah,
Cienfuegos, yes.
Yes. So yeah, so I certainly think that's great. I don't know what else I can
yeah,
add
that's
to
great.
this. The group was good. Everybody got along. It was overall fun besides informative. And you learned a little bit more about the politics of everything going on there. So, which is
Sure.
always fascinating to me. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's for again anyone who doesn't know our trips too, it is really fully guided as much as possible. Obviously, having that evening to be able to kind of pick and choose your own adventure to which shows and things like that still is very guided, but you have that agency in this trip to kind of move around. But we really have these fully guided experiences, so you're able to ask the questions and have guides who are locally from the area that can really help educate you and answer those questions that you're wondering and have that safe space to ask them and really engage. So I think this is at the tobacco farm, right? This
right.
photo here on the bottom. And then the dancing class. How did you enjoy the dancing, Beth?
It was fun, I
Yeah,
mean, something, they have a different style. I can't remember whether we learned, what to dance, but I think you see the musicians in the back and they were playing and we were just up like having fun. So
there
that
was
was
one place that you both I went to and you went to on the trip, the drumming group as well, the
right,
percussion and everything, which I was a highlight for me. I really enjoyed that. And like you said, this being able to visit spaces that are doing really great things for the community, right? That aren't just, they're not just playing music, they're there to teach the next generation of kids who also have a passion and passing it down. So yeah.
right, yeah.
And what do you feel like the biggest added value in having us coordinate and experience or coordinate and facilitate, sorry, this experience for you?
Well, I think you get, instead of reading from a travel book what Cuba's all about, I mean, you get actually a guide who sort of walks you through Havana, for instance, and tells you, the history of certain areas and certain buildings and what was going on at the time. So I think I always like to hear somebody, especially locally, tell you what's going on as opposed to just reading it out of a book. And I also like it because you went to certain places that I think normal tourists won't get to or won't know about. And I think that's always so interesting to me to get the local perspective of things and what's happening. So, and I must say, in terms of the jazz venues at night, when we were in the big arena, and probably Daniel knows the name of it, and I can't remember, it was next to sort of like an art gallery, so you could go see the art and then go back to the music.
Well, the Fabrica.
And
Mm-hmm.
and I swear we were there like 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's not just like you go for a 2-hour concert. They go on
go
and
all
on. You can stay, as long as you want. So
And
that was
our
fun.
mornings, did we allow you to sleep in a little bit, or
I
how
don't
did
remember.
you?
I don't
Don't
remember. I think so, but my husband was sprawled out. He drank a lot that night, and he was like, he was recovering from that. I know. The other thing I wanted to say, I think you still have 2 choices of where to stay, the hotel in Havana or locally. We stayed at the hotel, which has a fascinating history, and I just felt it was a good place to be at, so. Other people who stayed locally in the sort of, I can't remember what you call them, the houses that have rooms.
Casa particulares, we call them.
Yeah, we stayed at one of those when we were in our extension trip, but we stayed at the hotel in Havana, and I just thought it was fascinating to be there where all these people had been there, and the history and all that. So.
Sure. Yeah, and it's a new offering. I mean, we're allowed to do the hotel option for this trip, so it's a unique kind of option that we're able to do. All of our other trips, we just use Casa Particulares as a part of our license to support, the local economies and things like that. But this trip uniquely does have that hotel option and we'll go over it actually in a second for those who might have questions around that before we hop into the Q&A. So thanks to speaking to that yourself, Beth, and in your experience, sounds like you had a enjoyable experience in kind of both, but nice to have that balance maybe. And yeah, I mean, in my experience in Cuba, I think I had quite a few late nights. I was not on the Jazz Fest trip, but I also remember, Dyron saying, sorry, that's the life here. There's always things going on. You better just live it and sleep later. So I think a lot of us, we don't remember how we dealt with that. But I think, we do try to, of course, make the pace of it as accommodating as possible and maybe have a little bit of a later morning start, knowing that some nights are going to go a little bit later, but also wanting to squeeze as much out of the day as possible. So keep that in mind. You might have a few later nights than a usual DC trip, perhaps, on this particular one. I just want to say thank you, Beth, for sharing your perspective. It's not a small deal to come on here and be able to share with people your experience and take the time out of your day after so many years too. We really appreciate you coming back.
I can remember what was going on.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you did. I'm thrilled to hear, just all of your experiences and thoughts around the trip and your takeaways. It's yeah, we're really grateful to be able to provide an alumni perspective. I think it's the best thing we can do is be able to bring people like you on the call and for other travelers to listen. So thank you so much. If you want to stay on, as I was mentioning to earlier, you're happy to have you. Perhaps there might be some questions targeted at you, but if you need to hop off, I can message you later and we can kind of distribute anyone's questions that might be associated with you. But before we go into the Q&A, I kind of wanted to tackle some of the typical Q&As that we get to kind of just give everyone that perspective. And maybe actually I can have Claudia kind of take it from here as she's our pre-departure coordinator for the trip. And
yes, absolutely. I just want to say, Beth, I can relate to your trip with your picture holding the cigar because I also do not smoke, but I was in Cuba. I said I need to live that experience too, so I also tried. It was a lot of fun. And I also got to experience the nightlife and the great food and of course the amazing locals. So can definitely relate to that. So yeah, I am, as I mentioned, I'm the pre-departure coordinator for this trip. So what does that mean? So usually you book the trip and then you're like, okay, what do I do now? Especially with Cuba, right? Because you will need a visa, for example. As we mentioned, we have a license and I think it's common for people to not know what to do about the documents and everything. So I'm here to guide you after you book this trip. So any questions you might have, I'll also show and talk a little bit about travel portal, but we do have a lot of important information there. But this is a big question. So what do I do once I land in Cuba? What do I do now, right? So once you book your flights, Joe's gonna send your flights details to me. And then I will have with Darren, we'll manage to have someone there to pick you up and also to drop you off at the airport. So you do not need to worry about that. You're gonna arrive and then you're gonna see someone holding a sign with your name on it. And then that's where your trip starts. So no need to worry about transportation while in Cuba.
Yeah, and this was fun. This picture I took, this was how I got picked up from the airport, which was pretty cool. No promises that you're gonna have this car, but we do really love to at some point ride in one of those, old fun cars. But I love this photo. I'll never forget arriving to Cuba and immediately having that, bucket list item checked off. So something to look forward to as well and traveling to Cuba. But yeah, Claudia, I have the two slides just going over the two options. Maybe you can speak a little bit to the experience for people as well.
Yeah, as Lynn and Beth mentioned, so for this trip specifically, we do have two options for accommodation. So you can choose between the casas particulares, which are the homestays, and the hotel. I find it very special that in Cuba we do have the casas particulares. So it's just think, it's a home, locally owned, and then they will have, some extra rooms, and then you can stay there. But it's not just any room, any place, right? So we get to know the owners. I've been there. So in March, I visited at least 15 of those casas. It was a very busy day, but I got to know the owners. Darren as well knows the owners, and we have an amazing team in Cuba that always check, the quality of those homes. And I think it's a great opportunity for you to get to know the local people as well. You will see while doing the trip, you get to know a lot of local people and have the opportunity to speak to them. But once you're in their house, it's even more special. I did make a great connection with some of my hosts, and I still speak to some of them, even with my not great Spanish. But they're very nice and sweet, and they're more than happy to have you there. So this is one option, and you will have your private bathroom, your private room, so no need to worry about that. And we send more information of where you're staying, which casa particular closer to the trip, because it depends on the size of the group as well. And then we have the hotel, which Beth experienced. So feel free to share anything if you have anything else to share, Beth. But then we also have the hotel option. The pricing is different, and then Lynn, once you hop on the phone with Lynn is more than happy to share that information with you and also our sales team. But we have those two options that you can choose before you book. Okay.
Thank you, Claudia. And also, I just want to highlight this is an amazing resource that both Claudia and you will have access to. Claudia is always updating this with great information. As you can see, the itinerary lives here, any sort of extension options, flight information details, when we need you to arrive and depart by. The travel portal has access to a packing list and all sorts of other great frequently asked questions. So just know that if you are interested, you can have access to this before you even sign up for the trip, so you can have all of your questions answered. And so if you're interested, know that you can reach out to me and request access to this travel portal. So it's an amazing resource that is our go-to for everything, and we want you to have access to all of that as well. So now is our time to go into Q&A. Before we do that, I wanted to address a really important topic at the moment for those who, like us at Discover Corps, morning activity is reading the news, seeing what's going on in the world, making sure that we're informed on all of the countries that we operate in. And something that has been top of our mind these past few days or almost a week now in Cuba has been the power outages that they're experiencing. So I just wanted to address it, maybe give the opportunity for Diaren, who's from there, to speak to what's going on. But I just want to highlight that from a Discover Corps perspective, like safety, security, and everything is always top of mind, and we're always making sure to dig in deeper and also be aware that, you know, what's happening on the news might not be what's happening on the ground, but making sure that we're informed with the actual reality and gathering insight from people who are actually there and understanding the situation. So right off the bat, I think Dyron will speak to this. I think we're still uncovering really how serious the situation is. We have trips operating in November, so it's definitely top of my mind, and we're going to have to make sure that we understand. So for those who haven't read the news yet, Cuba has been experiencing some pretty serious power outages, and it's been pretty prevalent in the news at the moment. So I don't know if you have anything to add, Dyron, but I just wanted to make sure that we did address that. And for anybody who's signed up for a trip or considering a trip, Claudia is going to be in touch with you, giving you more information, making sure that we're on top of it. So please just be patient with us as we gather accurate information and making sure that we have, you know, everything to provide you. But just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware, and maybe Darren, you might have some comments about it.
Okay. Yeah, hi, of course. Thank you, Lynn, for that. Of course, we need to address that issue since we were talking about Cuba. There was a lot of things. There is a lot of like mixed views on what is going on. So we'll try to, at some point, to stay to the facts. Okay, there was a shortage of fuel for many reasons. Like again, I can talk about it, but there's a shortage of fuel. So the government decided to halt, to stop working the main electricity generating plant in the country, the main thermoelectric, the Guiteras. So they did it, they halted for a bit. They have a lot of like smaller ones, like alternative ones, but they all depend on that one. So they did that on that was on Sunday. It was supposed to be only one day. So, but when they tried to put it back on, it blew one of the, it's not a fuse, but one of the stations. And then they tried to put it back on again, and then it blew another station, blew up another station. So that process went on about 4 or 5 times. That every time they connected back the national grid of power, a new station would blow up. So there would still be no connection. And of course, they had to do a research to see why that happened, if they're going to install again. So that took about almost 3 days. Now, I would say in like almost 90% of the country, 90-some%, they have electricity, they have power. I'm not saying 100 because I was just talking to a friend of mine, one of our guides, Michelle, that it's in Matanzas right now. He says that there is no power there. But everybody else in Havana and in some other parts of the country, they already have the power back on. You mentioned something, Lane. There is no way we're going to send anybody to Cuba if it is not safe. That's for sure. That it's guaranteed. So the main issue was with the shortage of power. There is Cuba used to have a lot of support from Venezuela, but that went awry. We're not using that one anymore. So now we have some oil that is coming from Mexico. They're sending a couple of hundreds of barrels per day. We have oil coming from Nicaragua as well. We have oil coming from Russia as well. So, and I think there's a third country that I don't remember, a fourth country that is also helping out Cuba in this regard. Okay, so that is what happened. They had the thing. So the ship came, the first ship came with a lot of oil. They put it back on, they pumped it, they connected. And when they connected the main station, the thermoelectric, it blew up. So they had to refix it. There's a lot of reasons for why that happened. People say that it's old, that it has not gone a proper maintenance in a long time. Which again, that was a discourse back 10 years ago. So I assume that something must have changed. Because the thing is that, again, guys, everything belongs to the government. So it's not like in the US that most of the times, if there is an issue with a company, there's a lot of people that can report about that. So if everything belongs to the company, to the government maintains that, keeps that privately. You don't get to know unless there is some whistleblower that wants to say something, and sometimes people don't want to risk that. So that is the situation as it is. It's back to normal as of today.
No, thank you, Diron, for that perspective and that insight. I think it's really important that we address these issues and talk about it. And as mentioned, Claudia and all of us on the team are going to be working really hard to just continue to be informed by Diron and the rest of the team that are spread all across Cuba to get a really good perspective of where the areas are being affected and how we approach it moving forward. But I'm happy to hear that things have already kind of progressively gotten better. And this isn't the first time we've dealt with these sort of situations. So we're very prepared to be able to pivot and make sure that we're, again, sending you to places that you're going to have a positive experience. And we're going to be here to support you all throughout the way. So thank you for that. And I want to open it up again to anyone to write into the chat regarding other questions so that we can wrap up here and spend the next few minutes taking advantage of our time together. So if anyone has any questions in the chat, please do share and we'll respond. I know a lot of times people ask us about weather, so I might address that one right away as people are kind of thinking about what other questions they have. Dyron, when's the best time of year to go to Cuba?
But it's not the same, Lynn. It's not the same. Like, because, for example, I was once working with some travelers, and it was a very hot day. And I said, well, this is a great day to go to the beach. He said, no, it's too hot. So for me, the best days to go to the beach, for example, is the hot days. Like, exactly, we go. Cubans, we like to go to the beach. We do not go to the beach in Cubans in December. No, crazy, because for us that would be cold. I mean, Cuban cold, that would be like 70, 75, 74. That is cold for us. So we would not go to the beach in that weather. But for standards of international standards, yes, the best months would be like November, December, January, February.
Yeah, November through
March,
March.
it is a little bit colder than usual. Okay. The thing is that the nights are cooler. The mornings
Right.
are pretty much almost the same, a little bit hotter. But yeah, I would suggest going to those days. If you go on the other days, the other months, the plus thing is that there will be less tourists from other places traveling. So you're going to enjoy the cities in more isolation.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I would say on the phones at least and that's aligned with what you said is we usually tell people in November through March. I would say I guess September usually isn't the busiest time, although that's when I went and I had a beautiful trip. And then maybe a week after it was a little bit more of that hurricane weather. But I was able to experience it without there. But generally speaking, I feel like September isn't the most popular month that we see. But Cuba is blessed with pretty good weather year round for the most part. So if you have any specific dates that you're considering, something really unique about our Cuba destinations, more like anywhere else that we work in the world, is we have flexibility to really investigate new dates. So we have advertised dates. We can also add new ones. So if there's any sort of inquiries about customized dates for any reason, please do get in touch with me and we can evaluate to see if it's possible. Have some great questions coming in now. So somebody asked just about currency and spending money. So I know, Claudia, you can please speak to that.
Yes, absolutely. So for my experience when I was in Cuba, I did not need to exchange my US dollars, especially because I was just, buying small things and souvenirs. So what I made sure that I learned from Dara is that you should bring new bills. So for sure, bring new bills and small bills as well, because if you bring, 50 US dollars, it's really hard for them to give you change once you buy something. I'll definitely remind you of that once you're getting ready for a trip. Just remember your credit and debit card will not work in Cuba, so you must bring cash. And then for the amount of money that you should bring it with you, we suggest that you bring $75 per person per day. You'll probably not spend that much, but remember, you cannot get more cash if you need. So it's better for you to just, bring more than to need and not have it. And it is safe for you each day to just allocate some amount for the day, and the rest you can leave in the casa that you'll be staying or at the hotel. So you don't need to be carrying money, a lot of money all
Yeah,
day long.
exactly.
Okay.
I joke with my travelers being Canadian as well that I brought Canadian money thinking that people were going to be like okay with that. And my experience now is no. They prefer the US. They prefer crisp bills, new bills. So I think a lot of people Google these sort of things online. It's really good to get our perspective who are running trips there on a monthly basis to let you know if anything's changing, and Dyron keeps us informed. But at the moment, newer bills, nothing with markings or tears is important. So that people are able to also take advantage of those tips and money that you are bringing, right? Um, as somebody else just asked, what expenses are not covered. So really, the idea with our Cuba trips is an all-inclusive experience, except for your international airfare for the most part. The Cuba Jazz Festival trip does have some meals that are going to be on your own, and that's where working with Claudia to make sure that you have the right cash budget is important. But as mentioned, everything is on the travel portal for you. But for all of our other trips, it really is pick up and drop off the airport, everything in between. The idea is for you to only have to take out your wallet unless you're buying alcoholic drinks, right? Or souvenirs, and tipping your guide and driver as well. So again, we give you all of these instructions. And Dyron, maybe you have something else to add regarding those.
Yeah. The thing is that, for example, I remember in one of the trips, the thing is that sometimes as travelers, they want to buy other things than souvenirs. In one of the trips, they wanted to buy a Cuban instruments. So like there is a type of guitar that is a Cuban guitar. It's called a tres. It's only in Cuba. So there was one of the travelers that he liked music very much. He liked this type of Cuban guitar because it has a unique sound. So that is why Claudia is mentioning this. In case you want to buy something extra, other than the little souvenirs, perhaps you want to buy again, a guitar or the claves or some musical
Or a
instrument.
big, beautiful painting.
Or a painting, exactly. Or a painting, yes. So
yes, and those could be a couple hundred of dollars, right? There's so much artwork and so much music. So depending on what your budget is for those types of goods, you might want to bring a little bit extra, but $75 a day we've calculated does include, enough for enough drinks or enough, typical souvenirs, nothing too crazy. But it's better to go to Cuba and bring home money than go to Cuba and not have enough money to make those purchases, because you, as Claudia mentioned, you will not be able to use your cards while there. And that kind of goes hand with the next question about just cell coverage and speaking to connectivity while you're in Cuba. I don't know if you want to tackle that one, Claudia.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was just answering her as well. So, cell phone service can be a little hard in Cuba. What I usually recommend is just try to call your phone provider, and they might have some type of plan that work in Cuba. But most of our travelers prefer to use this time in Cuba to just be, away from your phone a little bit. I think it's even more special because then you're focused on your time there and the people. But I also understand that you might have someone at home that you want to communicate with. So one thing that I tried is an eSIM card. So there are some eSIM cards that you can just, download an app and then use while in Cuba. So this is one thing that I did and it worked out perfectly. As your travel coordinator, I'm more than happy to give you some suggestions that I have used. And also, I think it's important to say that Discover Corps has a 24/7 emergency number. So if there is any emergency here, your family, they can call us and we will reach out to you. We have the guide's phone number and we can contact them. So we will have way to communicate with you. And that's why most of our travelers feel comfortable enough to not even have any cell phone coverage while there. But we can also just share other tips as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. And somebody asked about typical Cuban food. Dyron, can you speak to the typical Cuban meals that one might expect to experience?
pork. I'm sorry, pork. Yeah, that it's yeah, we like fish, chicken, everything, but pork is the most common thing to eat in Cuba. I mean, the thing is that when you have like New Year's Eve, that is what you would eat. Like New Year's Eve, the big families, everybody together, that is what you would eat. Okay? That is for the meat wise. White rice, of course, and black bean soup. Delicious black bean soup. right? With different taste to the one that you guys get in the United States, it's different flavors. And of course, there is some, the salad. But in the salad, we use the type of root that is the yuca. It's a very, it's common in Aboriginal culture. We have in some places in Central, South America, very common in Cuba. That one, we put some gravy on it, and it's really good. Pretty much, that would be the most, and homemade desserts, like rice pudding or flan or coconut caramel, that type of thing. Those are very common things. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, the yuca.
Typical Cuban avocado. Yes, of course.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
I want to just say that I
Sure.
was not a mojito fan before I went to Cuba, but you certainly get a lot of choices and a lot of chance to drink mojitos. I'm not a beer person, so mojitos were my thing. So
Those are good. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. I love that. It is a staple food, 100%. I think it was like I probably had one every day while in Cuba. So yeah, definitely if you're a mojito lover, you're gonna love it. And if you're not, maybe you will become one. Who knows? They're pretty delicious.
Okay, I gotta go. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
Beth. Thank you
Beth.
for
Take care.
joining us.
Have
Appreciate
fun
it.
for whoever goes. I encourage you to go. It's good.
Thank you, Beth.
Okay.
Have a great day. Thanks for
Okay,
joining.
you too. Thanks. Bye.
There's just
one of the itineraries, we got people teaching how to make a mojito.
Yep, absolutely. We got to do that on my trip. It was very fun. So really quickly, I know we're wrapping up the hour here, and thank you, Diren, for all of your time as well. I just want to address really quickly the last questions that were really great ones. Just how many travelers are on the trip? So to speak to that, we technically have capacity for up to 16. We've also run groups larger than that for anyone. If you have a private group that wants to do beyond that, get in touch. We can explore opportunities. But on average, it's usually 8 to 10 people. The minimum to run a trip is actually 2. So it's a pretty small number compared to some of our other destinations that we are able to run a trip with little as 2 people. So just know that it kind of varies. And if you're interested in a certain trip date, we can speak to the demographic, how many people are already in the group, etc. And so I think at the moment, we do have a few people signed up for this Jazz Fest trip as well. So you'll be definitely joining a nice group of people. And Claudia, if you want to get in touch with both of us, we could speak to that further. And then the last question was just about the D Viajeros Forum. That might be a really weird name that none of you are familiar with. But the process for going to Cuba is the following. You want to sign up for your trip with us first. Then you want to book your flights once we've guaranteed to run your trip and made sure that Diren is ready to have the team receive us on the ground. And then once you buy your flights is when you can purchase your visa. It's done online. We walk you through it. That information's on the travel portal. It's a very simple process, but it does come blank. It's also known as a tourist card. So you'll get it in the mail and you will fill it out with your information. But in order to apply for that visa, you need your flight number. And then following that, 48 hours prior to your departure, there is a form that you have to fill out called the D Viajeros. And again, Claudia will be your pre-departure person walking you through this checklist. You don't have to be writing all of this down now necessarily. Just know that we're here to walk you through. So thank you for that detailed question to whoever asked that. But we are here to stay on top of your checklist and get you prepared for your journey to Cuba. So we're just about at the top of the hour. Thank you for all the questions. I think we addressed almost everything. If we didn't and you think of something later, please, we'll put in the chat my email, info@discovercore.com. That is the best place to reach us at with any inquiries, and you can schedule a time to speak with us or give us a call, leave us a voicemail, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible, okay? So thank you for everyone. Thank you, Diren, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to speak with you and have the opportunity to, have your time and insights, and we hope you have a great rest of your day and everyone as well.
Bye, guys. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.